What if I told you that before we had antibiotics, doctors were prescribing sunlight? Patients with tuberculosis were sent to sanitariums, and part of the treatment was simple: fresh air and time outside in the sun. At that time, nobody fully understood why that worked. But looking back now, with everything that we know about vitamin D, there may have been some real biology behind it, because that sunlight was doing something quiet and important inside the body. It was helping them make vitamin D. Hi, I'm Dr. Emily Wheeler, and today we are talking about vitamin D, but probably not the way you've heard it talked about before. Because vitamin D just isn't about strong bones. It behaves more like a hormone. Your immune cells are listening to it. Your body composition can change how much you actually need, and even the form you take matters more than most people realize. So today, I want to walk through you what vitamin D is really doing in your body and what your level might be trying to tell you. Let's start with the name, because honestly, it's a little misleading. We call it a vitamin, but biologically, vitamin D acts much more like a hormone. Here's how it works. Your skin makes vitamin D when UVB light hits it. From there, it travels through your body, goes through two conversion steps, first in the liver, then in the kidneys, before it becomes an active hormone that can actually communicate with your cells. And that's the part I want you to sit with for a second. Vitamin D receptors aren't just sitting in your bones waiting around for calcium. They're found in tissue throughout your body, your entire body, including your immune cells. That one fact changes how I think about vitamin D completely. It's not a bone vitamin with a side gig. It's a signaling molecule your whole body is paying attention to. So what is vitamin D actually doing for you? A few of its biggest jobs: it regulates your immune system. Vitamin D plays a role in both sides of your immune defense, in your innate immune system, which is your first line of defense, and your adaptive immune system, which is more specialized. Okay, it helps direct how your immune cells communicate and respond. It supports bone mineralization. Vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium, and it supports muscle function. Low vitamin D has been associated with muscle weakness and aches, which is something I hear about pretty often. And this brings me back to those tuberculosis patients. Vitamin D can stimulate production of antimicrobial peptides, including one called cathelicidin, which are part of your body's innate immune defenses. Researchers have specifically studied this pathway in relation to the body's response to the bacteria that causes tuberculosis. So think about that. More than a century ago, doctors were putting sick patients outside in the sunshine with no idea why it seemed to help. Today, we can actually trace a biological pathway connecting sunlight, vitamin D, and immune defense. Your body was giving us clues long before we had tools to read them. A few patterns I look for in my practice: women who spend most of their days indoors, whether that's in an office job or just a busy season of life. Anyone in a northern climate, especially through the fall and winter months, when there simply just isn't enough UVB light available to make vitamin D no matter how much time you spend outside. Women with darker skin, since more melanin means your skin needs more sun exposure to produce the same amount of vitamin D. And this next one surprises a lot of people, and it's women carrying, or any human for that matter, carrying more body fat. Vitamin D is fat soluble. It doesn't just circulate freely in your bloodstream. It distributes into your body's fat tissue. That means people with higher amounts of body fat tend to need a larger dose to reach the same blood level as someone with less. You could have two women taking the exact same supplement at the exact same dose, end up with two very different results. This is one of the reasons I'm cautious about blanket advice like everyone should take 2,000 IUs. Well, maybe, but what's your current level? What's your body composition? How much sun are you actually getting? There are a lot of variables in this forecast, and they're different to every person. So what does vitamin D actually feel like? Well, frequent colds or infections, since your immune system isn't getting the signal it needs. low mood, especially in the darker months. Think seasonal affective disorder, okay? Muscle aches, general fatigue that doesn't have an obvious explanation. And on the flip side, because vitamin D is fat soluble, it's possible to take too much. High-dose supplementation without monitoring can occasionally lead to excess calcium in the blood. This isn't common, but it's exactly why I don't believe in just taking a high dose indefinitely without testing. We got to recheck. This is something that I like to always stay targeted dosing on with my patients. So if you had vitamin D tested, the marker you're looking for, and you're looking at, I should say, is called 25-hydroxy vitamin D, or 25-OH vitamin D. Okay. Conventional reference ranges are designed primarily to identify deficiency and protect bone health. That's an important job, and those ranges matter. But in functional medicine, I'm usually asking additional questions like, is this level actually optimal for this person's physiology, symptoms, and stage of life? For many of my patients, I like to see vitamin D somewhere in the range of like 60 to 80 nanograms per milliliter, depending on the individual and really what else is going on with them. But I want to be really clear about this. More is not automatically better. This is one of those nutrients where my advice is simple. Test, don't guess. Know your starting point, supplement appropriately, and then recheck it. Your body will tell you if it's working. You'll just have to look. Okay. If you've ever looked at vitamin D in a bottle before as a supplement on the back of it, you've probably either seen D2 or D3. These are the forms. D2 is called ergocalciferol. Generally, it comes from fungus or yeast sources. D3 is called cholecalciferol, and it's the same form your own skin produces in response to sunlight. When we look at the research comparing the two, D3 generally does a better job of raising and maintaining your blood level. So when I'm choosing a supplement, D3 is the form I'm going to reach for. You'll also see vitamin D paired with vitamin K2 on the label, and that pairing isn't random. Vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium. Vitamin K is involved in activating the proteins that help direct where that calcium actually goes, including the proteins involved in bone mineralization. I think of it as two nutrients with complementary jobs. One makes calcium available, the other helps make sure it's being used appropriately. Okay. So timing matters too. Vitamin D is fat soluble, which means taking it alongside a meal that contains some healthy fats in it will improve how well you absorb it. If you're taking your vitamin D first thing in the morning with just black coffee, you may not be getting everything that's on that label. There's no fat in just coffee, unless you're putting things in the coffee like MCT oil or butter or thick cream. Alas, I want to add a fun piece of history worth knowing. Okay, so before vitamin D capsules existed, families relied on cod liver oil. It naturally contains vitamin A and vitamin D, and it became closely associated with preventing rickets, a childhood disease caused by poor bone mineralization, which becomes especially common in industrialized cities where the kids simply weren't getting enough sunlight. That connection between food and sunlight and bone health is actually part of what led researchers to discover vitamin D in the first place. Here's what I tell my patients most often. Your friend's vitamin D dose is not your dose. I see this constantly. Someone hears that their sister or their friend takes 5,000 IUs and feels great, or 1,000 IUs and feels great. So they start taking the same amount without ever checking their own level. But your body composition, your sun exposure, your absorption, and your starting point are all different than hers. So my biggest pet peeve is when vitamin D gets treated like a set it and forget it type of supplement. It's not. It is a hormone, and every supplement should have a job. And vitamin D's job is worth checking on. Let's clear up a couple of things. I'm going to go through some myths. Okay, here's a myth. More vitamin D is always better. Not true. It's fat soluble, which means it can build up in your tissues, and taking a high dose without ever rechecking your level isn't a strategy, it's a guess. Here's another myth. Living somewhere sunny means you don't need to worry about vitamin D. Not necessarily. Sun exposure, skin pigmentation, time spent indoors, and body composition all factor into how much vitamin D your body is actually producing and holding on to, regardless of your zip code. Your vitamin D is one piece of the puzzle, not the whole picture. But it's a piece worth understanding because your body has been sending the signal long before we had the tools to read it clearly. In this episode, if you had any questions worth bringing to your primary care or healthcare team, I should say, these are some questions to bring to them. Okay, your functional medicine doctor, your any type of physician that you see. Here we go. That's checking labs on you. Can we check my 25 hydroxy vitamin D level, not just assume I'm fine? Ask these questions, okay? Given my body composition and lifestyle, is my current dose actually appropriate for me? Should we be pairing vitamin D with K2? If I've been supplementing, when did we last check my level? So vitamin D is called the sunshine vitamin, but after everything we just talked about, I think you'd agree that it might actually be the least interesting thing about it. If you've been taking a vitamin D supplement without ever knowing your actual level, you're not alone. Most women haven't been told this is even something to ask for. If you're curious what your own body might be telling you, functional lab testing can offer help to fill in the gaps. Conventional labs leave behind. Thanks for spending time with me today. Until next time, I'm Dr. Emily Wheeler, and remember, your body is talking. Let's keep listening.